Hello, this is UZREPORT.NEWS. I'm Barno Nazarzoda. How true is the information that there is no any risk of getting infected with coronavirus in Uzbekistan, while the epidemic in China has reached its peak? Hundreds of our citizens were evacuated from China last week. Fortunately, none of them has shown any noticeable signs of infection. But does this mean that there is no reason to worry? We referred this question to the experts of the Agency of Sanitary and Epidemiological Well-being under the Ministry of Health, and here is what they responded.
The virus can be spread from person to person via airborne droplets. The incubation period can last from 2 to 14 days. Governments evacuating their citizens from China carefully examine each passenger when they step out of plane. Speaking of students who came back from China, currently they are in special isolation wards, where they will be monitored for 14 days. They may have no signs of infection in the initial stages. Each of them underwent an individual examination, and I can say with confidence that at the moment all students are in good health. The whole process is being monitored by health services. Samples obtained from citizens evacuated from China were tested in a virology laboratory which has special equipment that fully meets international standards. After a medical examination, the test results are placed in special freezers. There were many rumors that coronavirus could be spread through bananas or other citrus foods. That's impossible because all food products being imported to Uzbekistan are subject to thorough quality control, including medical control. The food products must be accompanied with sanitary certificates before they will be released to the market. Coronavirus manifests itself as influenza. If you are having high temperature or if you cough, please see your doctor immediately. Traditional medicine will not help. Tests for coronavirus can be taken only at the Agency for Sanitary and Epidemiological Well-being. As basic protective measures against new coronavirus, the World Health Organization recommends washing your hands frequently, wearing a mask in public places, avoiding contacts with people with signs of a cold, and not eating raw meat. Get regular health checkups and take care of yourself.
In the meantime, the death toll from the coronavirus epidemic in mainland China soared 1,000 on Tuesday with a record daily rise in fatalities. The number of reported cases, however, has fallen almost 20% compared to the previous day.
The death toll from the coronavirus outbreak has shot over 1,000. More people died on Monday than any other day since the virus emerged in December. Chinese authorities confirmed the more than 100 deaths Tuesday morning. But in a small sign of hope, they also said the number of reported cases fell by almost 20% from the day before. One expert in China said there was hope of a turning point in the outbreak, but not everyone agrees. The World Health Organization chief voiced concern on Monday.
In recent days, we have seen some concerning instances of onward transmission from people with no travel history to China. The detection of this small number of cases could be the spark that becomes a bigger fire.
Infections outside China are still on the up. On Tuesday, a 3-month-old became Vietnam's 15th case. And in the US, a 13th case was reported on Monday in California. The CDC said the adult patient was among the roughly 800 US nationals evacuated from Wuhan who have been under federal quarantine. Back in China, the government is coming under increasing pressure for its handling of the outbreak. President Xi Jinping toured a neighborhood in Beijing on Monday. Let's not shake hands, the president quipped, before adding, we must have confidence. We will overcome this epidemic. Dozens of health officials across China have lost their jobs for failing to contain the virus's spread. Hubei province, the epicenter of the outbreak, announced 2 of its most high-profile dismissals yet. The Communist Party boss of Hubei's Health Commission and its director were sacked for unspecified reasons. They were dismissed while public anger has simmered over local authorities' response to the virus.
The Ministry of Energy held talks with the delegation of the Republic of Singapore, headed by Senior State Minister of Trade and Industry Kun Ko Po. The parties discussed projects underway in Uzbekistan with the participation of Singapore companies in various fields and opportunities for expanding cooperation. In particular, the project of further modernization and expansion of the existing capacities of Kokand superphosphate factory is currently being implemented with the company Indorama. Investment commitments of the Singapore company comprise $67 million. In the first phase, it is planned to increase the production of superphosphate up to 350,000 tons. The Tashkent Institute of Irrigation and Agricultural Mechanization has opened a Professional Development Center as part of cooperation with British Council. In the framework of the international project named English as a Medium of Instruction, teachers engaged in the above spheres will be able to undergo training in English language.
The opening ceremony of the center saw experts from Britain, the institute's management, the head of the British Council in Uzbekistan, and project coordinators from 16 non-philological universities. English as a medium instruction was initiated to promote the professional development of teachers and the introduction of foreign experience in higher education in Uzbekistan. The main objective of the project is to improve modern educational tools and programs based on international practice, as well as holding consulting meetings, webinars and seminars together with project specialists from the UK. In particular, British experts will hold a 3-day seminar.
Okay, so I'm Rachel Island, the British Council Uzbekistan Country Director, and I'm here this morning along with the Ministry of Higher and Secondary Specialised Education to open an English Medium of Instruction strand program for English Medium Instruction and content teachers across Uzbekistan from 16 universities, and they're having a program of training all this week here in the Institute, which is part of the British Council's Higher Education for Employability program. There are going to be about 70 participants here. All of them teach English or they teach content in English, which is an important part of the government of Uzbekistan's commitment to developing higher education under the 2030 higher education concept for developing. And the British Council is supporting this by bringing in 2 experts from the UK, from Norwich Institute of Language Education, to train these 70 individuals over the course of the week so that they can take their learning back into their institutes across Uzbekistan and continue to develop the teaching and learning of English across higher education institutes in the country.
My name is Jason Skeet and I work for Norwich Institute for Language Education. So I've come from the United Kingdom to do the training this week. The training is in English as a medium of instruction. So I think this is really important here in Uzbekistan to train teachers at universities here about how to teach their subjects through English. And the training this week, what we're going to do is explore EMI, English as a medium of instruction. And the way we're going to do this as trainers is show teachers the sorts of things that they can do themselves when they're delivering lectures or having seminars, delivering lectures or delivering practical sessions with their students.
Uzbekistan intends to create conditions for electric cars, including rechargeable and hybrid vehicles. According to a presidential draft, requirements for creating conditions for electric vehicles will be introduced within a 2-month period. Conditions mean, first of all, allocation of at least 5% of parking spaces for electric vehicles, providing the possibility of simultaneous charging of electric vehicles in an amount equal to the number of allocated parking spaces, with a total capacity of at least 11 kilowatts, marking allocated places with the appropriate signs on the surface of the parking lot. Starting January the 1st, imports of electric cars, buses, trucks and motorcycles is carried out at zero customs duty. An event was held at the Embassy of Uzbekistan in Washington, D.C. It was attended by Congressman Trent Kelly, Steve Sutherland, and member of the U.S. House of Representatives, Amanda Villeret, State Partnership Program Director at the Mississippi National Guard, representatives of the political, defense, military, and educational establishments, including senior officials from Pentagon, the U.S. Central Command, as well as foreign embassies' military attaché.
Javlon Vahabov, the head of the Uzbek diplomatic mission in the United States, opened the event. The guests were made aware of the ongoing reforms in the Uzbek armed forces and Uzbekistan's improved ranking in the global firepower military strength ranking. Adoption of a new defense doctrine of Uzbekistan with open-end provisions was emphasized. It was specified that the fundamental principles of the country's new defense policy are not joining the military political blocs, preventing deployment of foreign military bases and facilities on its territory, non-participation of the armed forces in international peacekeeping operations and military conflicts abroad. Particular attention of those present was drawn to the fact that the national armed forces have been successfully representing Uzbekistan in international competitions. The recent victory of Muradjan Ahmadaliyev, Uzbekistan's National Guard representative who broke a world record by winning 2 boxing titles, can serve as an example of this. Congressman Trent Kelly stated that the leadership of Uzbekistan has done significant work to reform its armed forces, increase the military potential of the national army, and form a positive image.
I just want to thank the great country of Uzbekistan and their armed services. They're such a wonderful nation, such professional soldiers. They have one of the most professional armed services corps in the world. It is a privilege to work with them, and having served personally in both exercises and at an executive level with the forces of Uzbekistan, there are no more professional forces anywhere in the world, and it is they use them in a defensive purpose and to do civilian relief for natural disasters. They're just a phenomenal force, and we continue to wish them best blessings and consider them one of our greatest allies.
Another congressman, Steve Sutherland, noted the close trusting relations between Uzbekistan and the United States, especially with the state of Mississippi. It was emphasized that the Uzbek-Mississippian ties are actively expanding not only in the military sphere, but also in trade, economic, investment, cultural, and educational fields.
First, let me thank the ambassador for a wonderful evening here at the embassy, celebrating the relationship between our two countries and really highlighting the incredible military capabilities of Uzbekistan. A couple things that really stuck in my mind from our time tonight was the relationship between Uzbekistan and the state of Mississippi. I live in the deep south. I'm from Florida, very close to Mississippi, and it was so warming to my heart to see the relationship that has been forged between Mississippi, a fantastic state, and the country of Uzbekistan. You know, one of my dear friends, Congressman Trent Kelly, who was here tonight, has really done a wonderful job forging a deep relationship with the president, with the ambassador, and we are so proud of the way that relationship is growing and developing.
I would also like to say thank you to the Minister of Defense of Uzbekistan, who has welcomed Mississippi to Uzbekistan many times and organized meetings of the highest level, especially with the president and all your other ministry heads.
In general, the ceremony guests were introduced to the country's defense potential, its peaceful policy, as well as the course of military reforms in Uzbekistan.
Native of Uzbekistan, Russian billionaire Alisher Usmanov came out on Monday as the mystery buyer of the original 1892 Olympic Manifesto, the most expensive piece of sports memorabilia ever sold at auction, when he donated it to the Olympic Museum in Lausanne. The businessman, who also heads the International Fencing Federation, had bought the 14-page document penned by International Olympic Committee founder Pierre de Coubertin, advocating the resurrection of the ancient Greek Games for a record $8.8 million at auction in New York back in December.
Usmanov's identity had been kept under wraps at the end of a 12-minute-long bidding war between 3 international buyers that had sent the price from the top estimate of $1 million to the record $8.8 million, according to Sotheby's. IOC president said it was an emotional experience to see the document returned to its home during a ceremony in Lausanne, headquarters of the IOC and the site of the Olympic Museum.
It's a day of great emotion because we have today received at home the founding document of the Olympic movement and of the Olympic Games. This is how it all started, with the re-establishment of the Olympic Games, and therefore you cannot overestimate the significance and importance of this speech of Pierre de Coubertin, and you cannot overestimate the fact that thanks to the generosity of Mr. Usmanov, this document is coming back home to the Olympic Museum and the IOC.
A New York Yankees jersey worn by Babe Ruth was previously the most expensive item of sports memorabilia, selling for $5.64 million last year.
And for me, it is unity in excellence of the human through sport competitions. This biggest idea which unite world, which today have so many confrontations and divide by conflict, etc. In my view, it is more than first goal which we need to achieve through sport.
The first modern Olympics took place in Athens, Greece in 1896. Tokyo will host the latest edition of the Games in July.
On Sunday, Uzbekistan celebrated the birthday of Alisher Navoiy, the great Uzbek poet, writer, politician, linguist, and painter. Solemn events dedicated to this day were underway throughout the country. Tim Tarlott, British ambassador to Uzbekistan, has decided to convey his emotions on this day in a quite special way. He read some lines from Navoiy's ghazal and has published it on his Twitter.
Mehr kop kurguzdum amo, mehribane topmadım. John Basse pildim fido, oromi jani topmadim. Rambila jonim raitim, ram rusare kurmadim. Hacrila, dil hasta buldum, dil stone topmadim. İşkara yuzmin molamet, okera buldum nişan. Berkaman abruda tuzluqdin, nişane topmadim. Olaman ilçinde bulsun, ey Navoiy, garçi men, bir zaman işkida mehnaddin, amane topmadim.
More than 35 saigars of the Ustyurt population were caught in photo traps of the complex Saigacha Reserve, according to the State Committee of Uzbekistan for Nature Protection. The saiga population has not been seen in Uzbekistan in the last 5 years. Currently, the saiga is classified as a species in critical condition. In particular, the saigars of the Ustyurt population are on the verge of survival, and serious efforts are required to preserve them. And this is our last report for today. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.